I got this movie that came out in 2021 called Those Who Wish Me Dead. Yeah. Angelina Jolie stars in this one. So basically she works for this team, they call them smoke jumpers, and what that is basically is if a forest fire breaks out, they know what direction it's coming from, whatever like that. They try to prevent it and try to save people if they're in, the forest fire or something like that. Basically rescue prevention team. Something traumatic happened to her about a year ago or whatever like that, and this keeps her up at night. So then we see her chilling with her team or whatever like that, and then this dude by the name of Ethan comes over making sure everything's good. Now, Ethan's supposed to be like the sheriff of the town. So she goes by the name Hannah in this movie. Hannah's been doing some pretty crazy things to herself, like almost suicidal at certain points. So there's one scene she's riding in a truck, and then she ejects a parachute, whatever like that, to see how she can float around. I'm like, dude, what the fuck? Ends up landing in the middle of the woods somewhere, and of course Ethan finds out about it, and he's like, yo. So he pretends like he's arresting her, but then it's like he's just letting her go about her business. Turns out Ethan and Hannah used to date. But we later on find out Ethan's actually dating this girl by the name of Allison, who they're together, and she's actually 6 months pregnant. So now let's jump over to this spot in Florida. We see these two guys by the name of David and Jack. Anyway, they was going to this lady's house because apparently they're trying to fix this gas leak or supposed gas leak that's supposed to be going on in the city or whatever like that. But it turns out it's all one big hoax. They ended up posing as service workers and ended up killing everybody in the house and then blowing the house up. I'm like, now you're probably thinking to yourselves, why did these two guys just do this randomly? Well, then we turn to this forensic accountant by the name of Beckham and his son Connor. Now he just happens to be watching the news and all of a sudden they show the house explode or whatever like that. It turns out it belonged to a district attorney guy that Beckham used to work for. So he thinking he knows what's up, so you know what I'm saying? So he's like, he gets his son Connor, they get the hell up out of there. So apparently both of them got to dip out because, you know what I'm saying, apparently he knows some secrets or something like that. And if they're going to do that to the district attorney, you know they're going to do to him. So I guess there's some higher-ups that's trying to murk this man, so they don't trust the FBI, police officials, all this other stuff. So you're thinking to yourself, he's going to go to somebody who he trusts. Now, who's he trust? Well, it turns out Ethan is one of Beckham's best friends, so yeah, he's going to go to him. See how this is all kind of coming together? David and Jack end up going through the house. They see nobody's there. They end up stealing a laptop. And you know what I'm saying? They figure out some information. They see a picture of Ethan and Beckham or whatever like that. So they get the tip up. Now we get back to Hannah's arc. Now it turns out we found out more about her past. Turns out they ended up giving her a psych evaluation because she couldn't determine where the wind was coming from blowing the other way. And I'm like, they're like, yo, anybody could have made that mistake. You know what I'm saying? But the reason why she was so suicidal was because in that fire, there were 3 other boys that would end up burning to death. And then she had to sit back and watch because there was nothing that she could really do. Otherwise, she'd have been killed too. The only person that's really been looking after her well-being is Ethan. I mean, she got her team, they're there, but they're not really there like that for her, you know what I'm saying? So basically, when she's working, she's basically living in this watchtower. So it gets to this point where the storm is coming, lightning is striking everywhere, and the lightning is so ridiculous. You see the lightning actually hitting the ground. I'm like, come on. So she's trying to climb down from the watchtower, whatever like that. Lightning strikes the satellite. She ends up falling to the ground. I'm like, damn, that's a long-ass fall, but, she's still alive. So now back to Beckham and Connor, you know what I'm saying? They're on their way to go to Ethan or whatever, but they stop at this hotel. Now, at this hotel, Beckham is writing down all this stuff, which is basically probably secrets that he knows about this organization that Jack and David work for. But he gives it to his son in a slip of paper, but he tells him don't read it or whatever like that. So he just keeps it in his pocket. So then they got the hotel and they're headed over there towards Ethan, but they don't know that Jack and David are actually knowing the direction of where they're going to. They end up getting a drop on him. Becker crashes the car through like the river or whatever like that. So it's like, oh, he's like pretty much stuck in the car, right? So he tells his son to go get the hell up out of there. He's going to find a town or whatever like that. So his son gets out the car. He's out, right? He's going all the way down because apparently they didn't know he was in the car. They just thought it was just Beckham. Beckham's still moving around in the car. David and Jack are still at the top of the road or whatever like that. So they end up shooting Beckham. Beckham's done deal dead as shit. So now Connor's lost 2 parents because his mom died of cancer a while ago and now he just lost his dad. So now Connor's on a run, and David and Jack got to come up with a plan or something like that. So Jack finds out Mr. X is here, so they got to go speak to him. Guess who Mr. X is? Freaking Tyler Perry playing the boss villain. Word. He basically tells them, like, yeah, the boy was probably with him, whatever like that. And I'm pretty sure he probably has the information to what they need to shut that down, you know what I'm saying? He basically warns Jack to get it done. Meanwhile, Ethan's finding cars, finding dead bodies on the road and stuff like that. So he's like, what the heck is going on? Hannah's over by the river. She's having flashbacks again, like she's about to commit suicide. All of a sudden, she ends up running into Connor. Then she ends up telling him, look, like, town is like 12 miles down that way or whatever like that. You come to the clock tower with me and we can call on the radio, you know, say ask for help or something. He doesn't really trust her at first, but he really doesn't have a choice at this point. But here's the thing, when they get to the clock tower, they can't really call for help. Remember when I told you earlier, lightning was striking or whatever like that and hit the satellite? Yeah, well, it knocked out all communications and stuff, so there you go. And he finally opens up to her, though, and gives her the letter that Dad wrote. So after reading the information, he's like, yeah, we gotta get the fuck up out of here now. Meanwhile, Jack and David, they know it's gonna be a full-on blaze, so they're gonna cause a distraction. So they end up lighting fire to the forest or whatever like that and just letting it blaze out. So then after that, they end up posing as police officers going to Ethan's house, but of course only Allison's in the house. Allison don't fall for the shit, but they end up breaking in there anyway, you know what I'm saying? And they're basically going to torture her until they tell her who the boy is or whatever like that. But obviously they don't want to do anything to her like that because she's pregnant. So they use that basically as leverage. So they get her to call Ethan because they think Ethan's with Connor. But they think she ends up dropping code words or something like that, whatever. But then she ends up grabbing this thing, but ends up lighting them on fire and then, it's back and forth beef. She know how to handle guns too. Somehow she was able to get out the house, but they know that Ethan's going to eventually come back to the house, so basically they end up getting the drop on Ethan. So Ethan basically takes her back to the car wreck, basically try to make them assume that the boy's probably dead or whatever like that. But they're probably not going to believe that shit by the time they get there. But they're thinking to themselves, if he's a sheriff out here, he's probably got good tracking skills, so, lead her to it. Meanwhile, Hannah and Connor are traveling through the woods, and it's like this rainstorm or snowstorm or whatever like it's supposed to be coming, or thunderstorm. And then all of a sudden, this is like the craziest part in the movie. They're both running into these patterns to run and stop, and lightning is hitting the ground everywhere they're going. I'm like, the ground, really? There was this one point where Connor thought Hannah got hit by the lightning, but the lightning struck in front of her. It didn't hit her. So they get to a certain point, all of a sudden this big-ass fire is in the way, and we're like, oh, that was the fire that they lit earlier or whatever like that. So she's saying, we can't go through that. We ain't got no choice. We got to turn around and go back. So they end up going back to the clock tower. So as Hannah's getting herself cleaned up, she ends up looking out the window and sees Jack and David, gun tying Ethan or whatever like that. And they're like, oh, snap, they're at the clock tower and shit. So she basically tells Connor to hide and all that stuff, and they duck down. So they tell Ethan to go up there and check and see if anybody's up there, you know what I'm saying? Ethan goes in there, you know what I'm saying? He spots Connor, he spots Hannah or whatever like that. He's telling them like, yo, just stay here, you know what I'm saying? Chill out. Now he's talking to them thinking that they can't see him, but here's the thing. They know they got the low ground. So Jack and David end up climbing up to certain parts of the trees, and they put the guns, and all of a sudden they see his lips moving. They're like, yo, he's talking to somebody. They start shooting. Somehow Hannah and Connor end up getting to this rope or whatever like that, and they end up climbing down from the watchtower and escaping. I'm like, how? So as they about to climb back down the trees to get Connor, all of a sudden the shot rings out. We're like, oh snap, there's a sniper on the loose. Who's the sniper? Turns out it's Allison. When she left out the house, she got on a horse and go down to check the freaking clock tower. So basically, Jack is going to deal with Allison. Meanwhile, David's going to chase after Connor. It's a Mexican standoff. Bottom line is Allison gets Jack done deal daddy shit. Allison's a little injured, but she'll be all right. Now she goes to the clock tower and sees Ethan. Turns out Ethan got shot straight through his stomach or whatever like that. So he can't even move at this point. So she's about to get him out of there, but then all of a sudden it's like, nah, we got to stay here. Why? He turns around, you look over, the freaking fire is expanded like ridiculously, you know what I'm saying? He can't run it from it because he can't move, and she can't move that fast because she's pregnant. Wherever the horse she rode in on, that's been going. So Hannah and Connor are now facing the fire. This time, she's telling them you got to go through it or whatever like that. But she tells them it takes 100 yards, go straight down or whatever like that. There's a creek down there, you know what I'm saying? So just in case the fire erupts, you know what I'm saying, you'll be wiped by the water. Basically saying she's going to stay there to fight off David. He's got a gun and she's got this pickaxe. So yeah, it's not looking good for Hannah, right? But then Connor comes back and causes a distraction. So bye is they end up getting the duff on him. She basically was chopping that up with the axe or whatever like that. But she was about to just kill him. But then the fire started expanding or whatever like that. And he can't even move. So she was like, you know what? Let's let the fire take care of him. We got to get up out of here. And the fire got David. He's done deal dead as shit. So now they got to hurry up. The fire's expanding. They fall down, whatever like that. Then they get into the water and, just ducking their head back and forth in the water or whatever like that. So that's keeping them from getting burnt up. They literally there the entire night. As far as Ethan and Allison go, they just happen to have gas masks there. So, you know what I'm saying? They'd be able to breathe, you know what I'm saying? Because, the fire and fumes and all that other stuff, right? Very next day, Hannah and Connor wake up. The freaking forest is a blazing inferno. It's done deal. Everything just burnt down, you know what I'm saying? But they're still alive. Helicopter crew comes over by the watchtower, whatever like that. They end up finding Allison, but Ethan didn't make it through. He ended up dying due to his gunshot wounds, you know what I'm saying? Nobody could get to him, so there you go. Everybody gets rescued. Now, at the beginning of the part or whatever like that, when they met or whatever, he wanted them to get like a news crew. He didn't want no FBI, all this other stuff, right? So he could tell a story of what his dad had to do. But here's the thing. Connor never read the notes. Hannah did, though. I guess they're going to be on TV telling it together. I'm not exactly sure. But bottom line is, he felt like he has nowhere to go. And Hannah says he'll make sure he take care of them or whatever like that. And it basically distracted her because, she's not really having a whole lot more suicidal thoughts anymore. She felt like, she was able to save a child through the fire. You know what I mean? Still traumatized by the thing that happened before, but, And that's pretty much the end of the movie. A pretty wild movie. It dealt with a lot of different circumstances. We only had a couple lines from Mr. X. That's all we needed. I just like when I see Tyler Perry, I just don't feel like he should have a name like Mr. X. It's just like, you know, the guy that plays Medea. It's like, come on. But anyway, Those Who Wish Me Dead on Netflix, check it out.